especially in OU, you know what? Pick one weird mon that you want to use, and we can build it.
Yeah, throw a quillfish on there. Hey guys, welcome back. Episode 2 of the official Rate My Team YouTube series, and we are excited to be here. I come to you today with my fellows from Rate My Team. I'm here with Streams.
I'm a fellow.
Yeah, you're a fellow. Say hello.
Hello.
And I'm here with Enki also.
What's up, guys?
We have a team that I just, brand new, real fresh, pulled it from the chat. We're dropping some fresh beats with the teams today. Let's pull this up. From user DeMayo14, we have a Mega Heracross team. We are going to start by talking a little bit about the team itself, a little bit of an overview about some of its weaknesses, some of the things that we noticed going in. So we've got Mega Heracross, we have defensive-ish Landorus, we have a Slowbro with Signal Beam, we have a Specs Thunderous Therian form, and a Leftovers Heatran, as well as a Choice Banded Weevil. So, in general...
This is most likely what I see is a bulk offense team that with some weird stuff, as we can see. But it mostly relies on heracross as a sweep, but not with that speed. And it has some defensive stuff, like to take stuff like Landorus, and physical stuff to take taken by Landorus Therian.
Yeah, and Slowbro.
And what I can see here is the Mega looks like a little bit weird on this kind of teams, but we are fine. And Clefable and Weavile are the most annoying parts of the team, because it has pretty much no switch, and Heatran can still take those. Can still take Clefable because of that set, but we are going to change it. The first thing we are going to talk about is the fairy weakness, because Heatran can take fairies like Clefable, but it cannot take Diancie and Gardevoir. That's why we are going to change Heatran for Scarf Jirachi.
Although, if it's a Clefable running Focus Blast, like we talked about on our last video,
yes.
Out.
Lately, people are running a lot Life Orb Clefable with HP Ground or Focus Blast, which can be annoying to switch into. That's why we're going to run Scarf Jirachi, which is an offensive solution for Diancie, for Gardevoir, and either for Clefable. It's a nice change here because it helps the team, because of it has a pretty solid Voltrucorn in Thunderous Therian, Landorus, and nothing else.
Yeah. But
well, and will be Rachi, right, as well.
Yeah. Rachi would be a third.
Once we're able to make that change, so we'll go through and we'll show exactly once we get to that point. But let's start with Heracross, because this is actually probably the thing we're going to change the least. Looking at this Heracross, the main thing that we were talking about was basically the spread. We were talking about Bisharp as being an issue, and a whole bunch of other things, and just the fact that this Heracross is as slow as it is really makes it sort of unable to deal with some of those things, which are it's the only thing that can deal with them.
Yeah. Heracross is probably the main solution against stuff like Bisharp, which can be pretty annoying. Heatran has no speed, which can be outsped after boost and KO'd. Also, Jirachi gets Sucker Punch, so I would change Heracross to a max speed, max attack spread, which help against Bisharp, and max HP doesn't do anything.
All right, so that's the first change we're gonna make, is we're gonna go ahead and change that to a max speed. If I can type, which is hard. Okay. Otherwise, no changes on the set.
Yeah, I would try substitute over Sword Dance as an option as well, which helps.
It's definitely a possibility. Again, because this team is so scared of stuff that's fast, having that Sword Dance, how many opportunities are you really going to get?
Nothing much, only defensive threats.
So let's talk about Landorus.
Yeah, because it's this is a mixed spread, because I would say run or an offensive Landorus or a defensive Landorus, not like max HP, max attack, because you don't outspeed anything, and you don't abuse that max attack with max HP.
I find that like generally when you're mixing sets, you kind of almost lose the effectiveness of both of them. Like instead of being good at one thing or good at the other, you're just being mediocre at both.
I think that's a really good point. I think that people try to do that with movesets. They try to do it with spreads. They even try to do it with Pokemon, where they'll have, like, even on the larger scale, like when people try to build bulky offense teams, but instead of a bulky offense team, it's just like Clefable, Chansey, and Slowbro, and then it's like Manectric, and it's just like you can't just take half of one type of team. The same thing goes on a lower level too, which is what you're saying, right? Like you can't take a spread and just sort of go halfway with it, or it's just gonna not be good at either of the things.
Yeah, you gotta choose
that you wanted it to be good at.
Usually, new people at competitive focus mostly on Pokemon, on movesets, not much on spreads. I mean.
And also, I think they get fixated on two things in general, which is the idea of generic archetypical roles, which is sort of a very simplified way of thinking about a team, and type matchups, which like are far less important than the way the team works with itself.
Yeah, I would suggest, as many people suggest in the RMT chat on Pokemon Showdown, to check the Pokemon decks on Smogon, which helps and shows how many different set Landorus Therian has. It has probably 4 sets: Double Dance, the Scarf, defensive and offensive Landorus.
Yeah.
So I would,
and truthfully, it has more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, also Landorus has a huge role here, which is like take stuff like Mega Scizor, Talonflame, so like max defensive pretty much here. Yeah. Bishop here can be pretty threatening. So like Landorus Therian with the Hockey Helmet and max defense, max HP helps pretty much to it's not even one hit KO'd after boosting.
The point I was gonna say is that even though Landorus really is definitely one of the best defensive Pokemon in the tier, and you can just virtually throw it in on any team, the issue is that it has no recovery. So even though it's easily relied upon, it's also fairly easily broken.
Everyone, look, Landorus is good, guys. Like, newsflash. But the problem that you're going to find is that relying on it because it is so good means that you're going to rely so heavily on it that you are putting a lot of pressure on it. And it really can't handle that, like on this team.
The other thing is you can go ahead and run 30 speed IVs. I mean, it's just going to keep going down because people try to outslow other Lambos.
I don't want to talk about that.
I just put it at 30 to be safe.
I don't want to talk. So, like, whatever. People start running slower and slower Landorus for the slower U-turn. You guys have probably seen this. I'm in the chat the other day, and someone's like, you should run 27 IVs on Land. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, I just put 30 to be safe. I'm not gonna worry about dipping too far.
To be honest, because of Landorus being the only physical wall on this team, I would go like with max HP, 248 HP, 244 defense, 8 special defense, and nothing else. Like, I mean.
Also, because we have a Pursuit Weavile, we shouldn't really need to take that many.
Like Latios is probably the only Pokemon that's not an issue.
Okay, so here's a spread that we're going to use on Landorus. You're going to want 248 HP, 252 defense, so that's max defense, and then 8 in special defense. And in Impish Nature also, instead of the Adamant one that we had.
Yeah, 8 special defense allows Landorus to leave HPIs from Mega Man XP, yeah. That's why
but if I hear 2 weeks from now that you guys are running like freaking 17 IVs on Landorus, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about it. Let's move on to Slowbro.
Yeah, Slowbro has like a pretty weird set.
So we were looking at this Slowbro, and we talked a little bit about that. You know, Signal Beam obviously isn't doing much. Where we kind of finally settled, and we'll explain more about why this is as we work our way through this team, is actually to replace Slowbro entirely.
Yes.
And one of the main reasons for that is this team is slow. Like, slow. And so having a Pokemon having a Pokemon like Latios gives us something that's going to outspeed major threats and be able to deal with them.
Yeah, I totally agree because of Slowbro should be here, the water resistor of the team, but it's not touching even water resistors. This team is more like a bulk offense team, that it's going to be more like a balanced team, but even if with this being a balanced team, it has no water resistors. With an offensive water resistor in Latios, it helps against Zardwai as well, which is a pretty big threat to the team. So Latios is pretty much a good solution here over Slowbro.
Also, it adds hazard removal, which is really important for Thundurus and Weavile.
Like, we can go with the Orb set with Surf, like that we can Surf and HP Fire, that we cannot get like trapped by Tyranitar, or weaken it at least, Tyranitar and Bisharp.
So I think obviously we should go Draco, Roost, Deepog. I find the problem with Latios, or not problem really, I mean I guess it's a good problem, is that the fourth move is always fairly difficult to find because he has so many different fourth options.
Thunderbolt, HP Fire, HP Fighting, Surf, yeah.
Even Earthquake.
If we are going Life Orb is with Surf. If we are going with Colbert, it's definitely with HP Fighting. Honestly,
however, if we do Colbur Berry, we'd have to change the HP IVs because Knockoff still has a 37.5% chance to Oko Latios, even with Colbur Berry, if it's banded. To be honest, I personally think Weavile's a bigger issue. You have Heracross, T-Tar's, if it goes for Pursuit, trap you, free SD with Heracross. You know, Weavile can still pressure you with the Icicle Crash, though.
Yeah. This team has like no ice resistance, so like it's pretty free.
We have Rachi, but it still doesn't beat Weavile.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We don't have Rachi yet. For now, let's put Life Orb Surf. So let's talk Thundurus. Let's talk about the set that's here, first of all. It's sort of interesting.
It gains big momentum here because of Volt Switch. It's a pretty nice breaker that destroys offensive teams with the Volt Switch, but it has a few moves that are not like that good here with Sludge Wave and Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse hitting pretty much nothing. That's the other move are not hitting.
Yeah, I just want to point out, we know that Sludge Wave is for Clefable. We know that. Well, I don't want to speak for you guys. I like the Thundurus. Thundurus is one of my favorite Pokemon. I really like Thundurus. But we just want to change the coverage so that it's more effective for this team. And we're going to be going for more standard coverage, really.
So, like, having Grass Knot here is more effective too. Like,
due to Quagsire being an issue.
Yes.
Overall.
Yeah, I agree. I would keep like Sladrev as a slash, but after Grass Knot.
So, yeah, I mean, Grass Knot, Focus Blast over the Sludge Wave and the
Dark Pulse.
Dark Pulse, thank you. That was on the Thunders before. Just better coverage, better moves, especially over Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse hit nothing.
Oh, also, it was originally Modest.
Yes. Yeah.
However, after some talking about it, we're like, well, does Timid really help?
Yeah, we liked Modest at first because it does a lot to Rotom.
But Volt Switch is still doing over 50 if you're Timid, and you outspeed max speed Manaphy, which we ended up saying would sweep the team otherwise. So, next Mon, let's go over there.
Yeah, so moving on to Heatran.
Heatran is just taking Clefable, which can steal Thunder Wave on the Switch, but it's not taking stuff like Gardevoir and Diancie.
Also, to be honest, we really don't need Heatran for Scizor, because the combination of Landorus plus Heracross pressures it so much. Heracross, Close Combat doing over 50 guaranteed.
True.
On any set, and then Rocky Helmet Intimidate. I mean, you win the one. Like, you can pressure it
The
highly.
thought process that we had, though, was like, we want a Pokemon that can deal with fairies, and we liked having the fire coverage, so we were like, man, I wish we could do both of those things. Oh, wait, we can. We decided that we were going to replace Heatran with Jirachi.
Yes.
Scarf it, and throw Fire Punch on there.
And Ironet does a stab, Fire Punch for Mega Scizor mainly, and Healing Wish, which supports many Pokemon, because this team relies a lot on Latios and Landorus.
Also, if you may think, you might need Heart Stamp. Mega Heracross beats defensive Venusaur, even though it's uncommon now.
Yeah.
And then and then we can easily beat Among Us. So
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that's a pretty standard but very, very appropriate set for the role we needed to play. And it adds one other thing that the team lacked, which is more speed.
Also, fairy resist and healing wish support, which is pretty big.
Yeah, and it's also big because, like, even though we have Landorus, which kind of beats Lopunny, it at least pressures it a lot. We didn't really have an offensive way of dealing it, but now we do. Now we have Jirachi to offensively deal with Lopunny. So, strangely enough, last Mon, we're actually not going to do any changes to, but we'll at least talk why we're going to keep it this way.
Yeah, being one of the strongest knockoff in overuse, it has a pretty good work in this team, which helps against Landorus and many grounds, which can be annoying to this team because of Mega Heracross presence. But yeah, Weavile fits here pretty well.
We didn't even think about changing it to Life Orb because of how much we rely on this to really deal with things like Tornadus or especially the Lotties, because if you want to pursuit trap something, Choice Band is the best set because even if they don't switch, they can't roost stall you because you're doing 74 to 88% with a banded pursuit. Like, even if it doesn't switch out, it's a guaranteed OHKO on both of them.
Yeah, the beauty of Choice Banded Weevil is like just click pursue or knock off, and it doesn't matter. You don't really have to think that much to use this Pokemon.
Yeah, you don't have to be worried about any like mind games against Armin and Latios. Also, Life Orb Weavile is pretty frail.
Yeah.
From the Life Orb, yeah. And like
Life Orb, rocks, sand. With the Bandit's pretty different, having more power and less damage.
Yeah, it does 1,000,000 damage and it's not hurting itself. The last thing that I wanted to talk about was for the person who built this team. Damio 14. When we rate teams, our goal is to preserve your goals. For those of you who want to be raiders, who want to maybe are interested in getting voice on the chat or becoming a badged raider on the forums at Smogon, one of the absolute most important tenets is to understand what the person that you're talking to who submitted the team is trying to accomplish and to help them to accomplish that. Not to completely change the team so that it's a different team, even if you think it's going to be better. And we try to stick as hard and fast to that role as we possibly can because that's like the spirit of what we're trying to do. Not only is that not being a very good raider, that's not really fun for the person who like built the team.
Yeah.
That's not what they're trying to do. And, we're here to have fun. Like, we take Pokemon pretty seriously because we're all the way that we are, but it's a game and people should try to be able to play it the way they want to try to play it. And so it's important that we try to support that. The reason that I brought this up, when we first saw this team, the first thing we did is we looked at it and we said, why is Heracross on this team? But Heracross was the Mega that was picked for this team. So we wanted to address why we didn't change it, but we also wanted to know, like, when we were looking at this team, we really, really like the idea of putting Mega Scissor over Heracross, and it allows you a lot of fluidity and a lot more choices that you're able to make with this team, and we wanted to just put it as a viable option. It helps deals with fairies, it helps deals with a whole bunches of other things. Yeah,
it pretty much walls Weavile. Even that, I mean, having this user probably built around Heracross, which we stick with. Even like on this kind of teams, Mega Scissor could have been like a better Pokemon to have instead of Heracross.
We're not going to change it on the team. We're going to leave that as it is. But if you want to maybe take this team and try it with Mega Scissor, we would recommend it, I think.
Mega Heracross is still viable. Like we were saying, if we switched it to Scizor, less changes would have to be made.
So yeah, we just wanted to take the time to point out what a choice that was, and like why we personally, even though I think at the end of the day most of us feel like Scizor is actually better and allows us to keep more of the original team as it was purposed, Heracross being the Mega is such a central part of this team that we had to change around it instead of change it. That was so that's why we did a lot of the things that we did. And if you guys go back through this video and look at the changes that we made, hopefully you guys will be able to understand why those specific changes were made, or hopefully at least be able to figure it out, because we had that in mind the whole time. If not, let us know, and we can talk about it more, or submit a team yourself. And we can rate your team next time, and we can talk a little bit about that.
Also, if you see us in the chat, you know, as long as you're not going to, like, mess with us or something, feel free to PM us and talk about this. You know, any feedback is good.
I mean, you can mess with me. I'll ban you, though.
Yeah.
Anything else on this team, guys? I mean, I kind of was starting to wrap up there, but I think we're pretty much done, right?
Yeah.
No, I think that's it.
Okay. So, you know, hey, again, if there's anything that you guys want us to clarify, leave a comment. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. Please subscribe. Look out for more videos in the future. And last but not least, if you would like to have your team rated on one of these videos, email it to me as a paste bin or as like a Word document or whatever. That's fine, but in paste bin format, okay, at rmtcast@gmail.com. That's rmtcast@gmail.com, or PM it to me when you're in the chat, but make sure I'm there first because I'm AFK a lot. Or feel free to submit it to one of us on the forums, and we would love to have OU, UU, RU, whatever you got. Bring it on. And we'll see you next time, guys. Bye.
All right, bye.
Goodbye.